Next, let's talk about the lifespan of friendships. Friendships, like most other relationships, have a lifespan ranging from formation to maintenance and potentially to deterioration and dissolution. And friends can cycle through these stages together or separately. They might experience multiple stages at multiple times. There's lots of different ways that we can experience friendships. And it's important for us to always remember that not all friendships develop the same level of closeness. The level of closeness between two individuals can fluctuate over the course of a friendship. And if friends are less close to one another, this doesn't necessarily lead to less satisfaction on the part of the individuals within the relationship. Now, when it comes to the formation of the friendship, the formation process of friendship development involves two people moving from being strangers to being acquaintances, and then potentially to being friends. And there's lots of different factors that play a role in whether we form a friendship with another person. These include environmental factors, situational factors, and individual and interactional factors. So the first of these is environmental factors. Environmental factors lead us to have more day-to-day contact with some people over others. For example, we might live close to another person, or we might share a workspace with them. In other words, we might have a certain level of proximity with another person that causes us to interact with them more frequently than we do with other people. For example, if you were living at a 4-year university and you're living in the residence halls, you may have formed early relationships, maybe even before classes started, with your hallmates or your dorm mates. And many students will continue to associate with these individuals and maybe even attempt to live close by the friends that they made later on in life because they met those people so early on and they just lived in such close proximity. So proximity is definitely a big factor in friendship formation. Additionally, situational factors can play a role in the formation of a friendship. The main situational factor that may facilitate or impede friendship formation is availability. We are much more likely to be interested in a friendship if we anticipate that we'll be able to interact with that person again, if we feel like it's going to be convenient for us to interact with them. Because both parties need resources such as time and energy to put into the relationship. And if the other person just isn't available or it's inconvenient, it's too much work, then we aren't likely to put the work in order to maintain that friendship. And the friendship just might never come to be. As an example of just how important environmental and situational factors can be in the formation of a friendship, I have a friend that I met when I was in college, who I met because of proximity and availability, right? We were in a class on the first or second day of school, and I overheard her telling another student that she was concerned about having to walk home to the off-campus residence halls that evening because she had a night class that got out around 9 p.m. and she was concerned about walking the 20 minutes in the dark from campus to the off-campus housing. And my ears perked up because I also had a night class that evening and I also lived in the off-campus housing. And so I turned to her and said, "Hey, what class do you have tonight and where do you live?" And it turned out that she lived a floor below me. We lived in the same building. And we had the same class that night. And beyond that, we ended up having 3 of our 4 same classes together that semester. So we ended up being really available to one another, really convenient to one another, and we lived in close proximity. So we very quickly became really good friends, especially because we were spending so much time walking to and from campus together and all of these sorts of things. And to this day, we are very close friends. We were roommates for a while, for a few years after college even. And, I would easily call her one of my best friends today. And so environmental and situational factors can play a huge role in the formation and maintenance of a friendship. But individual and interactional factors are also really important in the lifespan of a friendship. We are much more likely to develop relationships and friendships with individuals that we deem physically attractive and socially competent. If the other person is responsive to our needs, then we are much more likely to keep that person on as a friend. And when it comes to friendships, and it sounds a little weird to talk about attraction with friendships, but studies have demonstrated that we are more attracted to people who we deem to be similar or slightly above us in terms of attractiveness and competence, even in friendships, not just in romantic relationships. Additionally, friendships tend to form between people who have similar demographic characteristics such as race, gender, age, and class, and they tend to have similar personal characteristics like interests and values as well. So that's where some of the interactional factors come in. New friends need to maintain their relationships. And some friendships are just going to require more maintenance in terms of things like shared time together and emotional support. Other friendships can get by on very little. You'll see in the text messages on the screen here, for example, that some relationships require a lot of communication. One friend may say to the other, "Hey, are you in town? Are you going to be in town this weekend? We should meet up." "Yes, let's hang out. Let's get everyone together." "Yes, so excited." Whereas others might just respond with each other, "Hey, what's up? Nothing much. Nice. Yeah." And that can be enough for those individuals. That can be enough to just maintain the relationship and keep it going and to show each other that you're there for each other, that you support one another, and all of those sorts of things. But like any other relationship, failure to perform or respond to friendship maintenance tasks can lead to the friendship deterioration and potentially the eventual dissolution of a friendship. Now, friendship deterioration may be voluntary, involuntary, external, and internal. If the dissolution of a friendship is voluntary, this means that we are essentially choosing to end the relationship. For example, a voluntary end to a relationship could mean that you got into a conflict or a fight with your friend and you decided to not speak to them again. That would be the voluntary deterioration or dissolution of the relationship. If the deterioration is involuntary, on the other hand, this means that we didn't have a say in the matter, that we didn't have a choice. For example, the friend might be moving away because their family is moving away and they don't have a choice in the matter. Another example of an involuntary end to a relationship is the death of our friend. It's morbid, but the friendship ends if one of you dies, right? And so that would be an example of an involuntary thing because you probably didn't choose to end the relationship that way. But in addition, there might be external and internal forces acting on the friendship. So if the deterioration is due to external forces, this means that it is something outside of the relationship, outside of that friendship, that is having an impact on that specific friendship. For example, the two individuals within the relationship might have increased family or work commitments that are taking up the majority of their time and are making it so that they don't have the time to dedicate to this friendship. So those are external factors that are influencing the relationship. Or these factors could be internal. It could be, for example, because of a decreased liking for your friend because you don't feel like they are there for you. You don't feel like you have the support that you need within the relationship. So external is outside of the relationship, internal is within it. And believe it or not, well, you probably do believe this actually, but friendships don't tend to end in big dramatic conflicts and fights and things like that, the way that romantic relationships do. Instead, friendships tend to terminate because of avoidance, right? The main termination strategy in friendships is avoidance. So instead of having this big drawn out fight, for example, we simply withdraw from the relationship. And as a result, the relationship fades away and may eventually disappear entirely. And in most cases, this is nobody's fault, right? There are a lot of different reasons why we might start to withdraw from a relationship. Like we said previously, it might be voluntary, it might be involuntary, it might be external, it might be internal. But whatever the reason, we start to withdraw from the relationship starts to fade away, and it might eventually disappear. So that's the lifespan of a friendship, right? From formation to maintenance and to dissolution.